listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
Welcome to another edition of the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. I'm your host, Femi Abebefe. As always, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Our producer, Elliot Bowman, with us on the ones and twos. Michael, week 6, the Sunday slate. Boy, it gave us a lot to talk about. A lot of in-game decisions, red zone stuff, tilting results. But we will start, though, with the two unbeatens going down. Pop that champagne, 72 Dolphins. Mercury, Morris, the whole crew were popping champagne bottles. No more undefeated teams in the NFL. And we saw the last one go down in the Meadowlands yesterday afternoon. Eagles falling to the Jets, Jets, 20-14.
You know, both teams lost, but I'm not sure the other team really won. You know, I mean, I think both teams helped the other teams in this situation. And look, let's face it, both teams were going to lose at some point. We know weather was a factor, certainly in Cleveland when you watch that game. And in Philly, it's so not typical for them to turn the ball over as much as they did in the second half. So, look, it's probably a blessing because they can stop talking about being undefeated. You can kind of get on with your season. Obviously, both teams lead. To me, forget the loss, right? Forget the loss. McCaffrey, Daboll losing. Lane Johnson and the injuries at Reed Blankenship and all those other guys that's the more concerning thing from the game, not the loss. Right? That's the more concerning. The Eagles are playing with two backup offensive linemen in the game on the right side of their line. The 49ers offense changed dramatically when McCaffrey leaves, and Trent Williams also had to leave the game. So, to me, I think that's really where the storyline has to go moving forward. But I think in just retrospect, watching the game, watching all the games, last night's game, the red zone offense of football in the National Football League is at an all-time bad. It's really bad. And I don't have an answer for it. I know some teams trying to run it in. They can't. Miami's 5 for 5. They've got unique players. The red zone always is about players making plays. I get that's really simple. But there's some really bad red zone decisions in terms of play calling. Run, pass. Run. It's like at some point we got to figure out a way to get the ball in the end zone. And yesterday I went through it, Femi. There were when you go through the game, and I'm sure you watch, since you're 4-game Femi, you watched them all.
We were 8-game
Baltimore,
Femi.
Las Vegas, the Jets, the Giants, the Saints, Seattle. Right? Those 6 games. Those teams were 5 for 31 in the red zone. You wonder why scoring's down?
We will get to Seattle, Cincinnati. That game was crafted in a lab in a special place called hell with the red zone that was going on in that one with the Seahawks especially. But I do want to get back to the New York Jets, though, because they get this victory, big win for them, going 3-3 now heading into the bye week. Speaking of red zone, they were 1 for 4 in the red zone. It felt like watching that game. Every single Jets drive, they would drive the ball into Eagles territory, but then somehow punt the football. But credit the Jets and their defense forcing those 4 turnovers and getting this victory. Zach Wilson, he protected the football, 9 of 33, 186, and that's what the game came down to. Eagles 4 turnovers, Jets 0 turnovers, Jets get the win.
Which I kind of thought the Jets were going to turn it over. I kind of thought that Wilson would have turned it over. I kind of didn't think the way the game played in my head, I didn't. If you would have told me when the Eagles win it at halftime with 14 points that was all they're going to score for the rest of the day, I would have said you're crazy.
Yeah.
I'd have said you're crazy. But when you look at their breakdown and you look at the second half and it's filtered with all the mistakes that they made, Lane went out in the first quarter. I think he went out in the first quarter. And this was, he was under pressure. There's no question about it. I mean, everybody says, what's the record, the Eagles' record without Lane?
Oh,
hold on, I got it right here. I wrote it down this morning.
The splits are crazy, yeah.
I mean, it's insane, but let's face it. I mean, that when you have a legitimate, really good left tackle, right? I mean, you're not going to sit there and a right tackle. You're not going to sit there and pretend like he's not going to make any plays, right? So I think to me, that comes down to having the backup. The backup's got to play good, right? The backups are 84, 48-1 in games Johnson plays. They're 13-22 when he's sidelined. Which, to me, if you know that, you got to have a really good swing tackle. Unfortunately, the Eagles don't. And then they have a backup right tackle. Steed, the draft pick, didn't play. Operta played in there on the right side of the line, and I think the Jets did a good job of taking control. But at the end of the day, really, when you break it down, I mean, look, this is a game that the Eagles had every chance to win. Unfortunately, that again, their second half drive chart goes punt, interception, missed field goal, interception, downs.
Any optimism on the Jets side of it? Because they did do this without their top two corners, Sauce Gardner in the concussion protocol, DJ Reed also in the concussion protocol as well. Like anything for that Jets defense that you would like to take away, or do you think that this was just Philadelphia kind of just having one of those days where everything went wrong?
I mean, the interception by Hurts was really strange. The 3rd and 8 call, I think if they punt it there, they still win the game. I don't think Zach Wilson's going to beat you. I think, look, they stopped the run. I think that's the critical component of the game, and I didn't think they could. I mean, Hurts, their leading rusher at 47 yards. Swift had 10 carries for 18 yards. They stopped the run, and they made Hurts have to throw the ball 45 times, and they gave up the 49-yard pass to A.J. Brown, who is, beyond sensational.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
Like, that catch he made was beyond sensational. I wasn't sure it was a catch. Scott Novak had to get a lot of airtime, certainly, which we all love that, right? We can't wait to get him some airtime. But, it was a great catch. I don't know. I can't answer. How does this team lose to the Patriots? How do the Patriots run for 150 yards on the Jets and the Eagles run for 80? It didn't really make any sense. It's hard to kind of capture.
Yeah, it is. But I was talking with Elliot, our producer, before we got started recording this thing, and back in the summertime when we looked at that Jets schedule, even before Rodgers was hurt, we said if they go into the bye 3-3, I think they would sign up for that. And here they are without Aaron Rodgers, without a couple of corners. I'm sure those guys will come back here next week or after the bye. And they're sitting now at 3-3, which on Thursday I want to have a bigger conversation about the New York Jets and what they might do this week, because they got to feel like that, hey, we're right there. If we can just get some production on offense that's a little bit more consistent, maybe we can make the playoff.
You don't want to have the Kirk Cousins, because they're not going to get Kirk Cousins.
Or maybe somebody else.
Have that conversation,
maybe someone else.
Kirk Cousins already said it. It's already out there. He'll veto the trade, look, Kirk Cousins is a family guy, right?
Yeah.
For him to go someplace that can't be convinced he's going to get his contract, he's going to get his kids in school, he's going to be there for more than he's not going to live out of a hotel and eat at IHOP.
They have nicer restaurants in Jersey.
Yeah, look, that's just. You're thinking like there's no human element to the transaction. That's what you're thinking like, and it's hard to get him. He's not going to go there for 9 games knowing that he's going to leave his family behind. I don't see it.
Well,
you can talk about it on Thursday. I might not contribute. That's all.
Well, I hope you contribute to this discussion. 49ers, they fall to the Cleveland Browns yesterday. Jake Moody missing the 41-yard field goal as time expired out there in Cleveland. 19-17, P.J. Walker led Cleveland Browns. He gets the quarterback win, but the defense is what got it done.
He threw one pass for 48 yards to Cooper.
He tried to throw the game away.
58 yards. The next longest pass play he had for the day was 11 yards. Like, he did everything in his power to help him lose. He threw 2 picks.
Should have been a third one.
Won the game. Here. We talk about this all the time. Okay, why did we win? Why did we lose, right? The 49ers lost the game. Moody missed the kick, but that's irrelevant. They gave up 160 yards rushing to a team that you knew they had to run the ball. They gave up 4.7 a carry. And here's what's the most distinguishing thing about that, Femi. The longest run was 22 yards. It wasn't like when you watch the Baltimore game against Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. You look at the stat sheet and say, oh, man, Derrick Henry, good day, right? No, he had one long run. Everything else, it was a pain, right? They didn't have that. They had a 22-yarder, a 16-yarder, and a 20-yarder on a reverse. They ran the football on San Francisco. Give credit to Stefanski for coming up with that. Billy Callahan, the line coach. And they overcame their quarterback. They threw 34 times in the game. You call 34 pass plays with P.J. Walker, you got to be holding on to your ass.
Yeah.
You got to be holding on to your ass. But look, this game, the best defense on the field and the best defense in the National Football League, it's clear. It's Cleveland. It's not close. The stat I gave out on Thursday about Schwartz knowing how to play it, it played out. He knows how to take away the game. They're 3 for 12 on third down. Weather helped them too. Don't get us wrong. Mm-hmm. But to beat Cleveland, you better be really good offensively. Baltimore put points on them. San Francisco couldn't. McCaffrey goes out. San Francisco, what they had? They averaged 3.9 a play, Femi.
Yep. It was 3-9 and played 215 yards. This was an offense that outside of Miami was like the most efficient offense in the NFL. They were scoring 30 points in every single game. They hadn't lost a regular season game, Michael, since they made the trade for McCaffrey last year midseason. Like they were humming along, and they go into Cleveland, an absolute buzzsaw of a place. They lose this game. And get this was from Nick Wagner, who covers the San Francisco 49ers. He talked about how Cleveland plays a lot of man coverage very well. They played man coverage on 71% of the dropbacks, their highest this season. Brock Purdy was 7 of 17 for 96 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT, 2 sacks, and a QBR of 12.0. Cleveland now they allow only a 7.5 QBR in man coverage against any team that they play all season long. Like they were just absolutely ridiculous on defense.
And we said it before the game, though. Their corners can cover. Look, their corners are good. Their whole defense is good. You can't run the ball on them. You cannot, and then they force you into a passing game, which they're very good at being able to handle it. I mean, they gave up 4.3 a carry. You know, I didn't think Purdy. I mean, look, the weather was a huge factor in the game. Let's not dismiss this, right? And Purdy leads them on a 9-play drive. He gets 3 first downs at the end of the game against a good defense, and the kid just missed a kick. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it's like when they lined up to kick the kick in Oregon, and the ball's in the middle of the field like that, you're always hesitant about making the kick. You want the ball on a hash mark where the guy can play his fade or play his hook. You know, and that was one of those kicks. Moody, you know, he's kicked in bad weather. He's a Michigan kicker. Yeah. But, you know, he missed 2 kicks yesterday. He was wide, he missed the 54-yarder wide left and a 41-yarder wide right.
And also important to note, like Deebo Samuel, he left the game with the shoulder injury. Trent Williams left but came back. McCaffrey, though, that's the big one with the oblique injury. McCaffrey did not finish this game. And I think being able to play that man coverage, you can do it a little bit more liberally when McCaffrey is off the field, because we always talk about him being that weapon and being that chess piece, the straw that stirs the drink there in San Francisco. When he's off the field, they're a little bit more normal offensively, I feel like.
Yeah, they changed that they're no longer positionless football. He's kind of like I've always said, he's the lightning rod to their offense.
Yeah.
They'll have to change.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with McCaffrey. I believe he's going to have an MRI today with that oblique injury. Hopefully he's not out long. We love watching him play football here. On the other side, I'll ask you, though, which team should we be more concerned about? Niners or the Eagles also get to Sunday Night Football next?
You're listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
So do we have any concern with these two top teams in the NFC, the Niners and the Eagles, now at 5-1 going forward? I know you outlined the injuries is what you're concerned about, and we'll find that information out this week. But other than that, anything that kind of makes you think twice, or is it just, hey, a bump in the road and they'll get back on track?
I think it's a bump in the road. I think you have to take a look at it. I mean, look, if the Niners make the field goal, we're not even having this discussion.
6-0.
And if the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts doesn't stare down the receiver and throw the ball into a simple cover 3 where he kind of alerted the linebacker right over to the throw, we're not having this conversation either. They scored no points in the second half. I mean, sometimes these losses are good for you. You kind of wake everybody up and move on. They're hard to play. Look, the Niners are hard to play. The Eagles are hard to play. The Lions are hard to play.
Yeah.
You put them in the hard to play. I mean, you got to put them in a hard category. Miami's hard to play on offense. Their offense is hard to play. Buffalo, the next game we'll get to, is hard to play, but I think what we saw last night was without Milano, without legitimate corners in the back end, without Daquan Jones inside, maybe there's some reason for concern. And I've said this so many times on the pod. When Buffalo doesn't play from in front, took 14 points in the fourth quarter, they're not the same team defensively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like Buffalo's a little bit like a better version of Dallas, being like front runners out there on the field there. But the Buffalo Bills, they get the win 14-9 on Sunday Night Football. Not many people had this expected. Largest point spread of the week, 15.5 is what this thing closed. Giants covered this thing, no doubt, wire to wire. Heck of an effort from the New York Giants. They outgained Buffalo slightly, 317 to 297. But the end of half and end of game situation is what everybody's talking about, and that's what the Giants are going to want back in this one. The end of half. How does that happen, Michael? Like they have no timeouts. Yeah. Like what the hell's going on there? At least get the 3 points, man.
Well, I mean, we saw it with your boy Dan Lanning. He did it too.
Yeah.
You know, we started Saturday with the stupidity and we ended Sunday with the stupidity.
What a
Look,
sport.
I don't know how you defend it, right? I don't know how you defend it. You say, well, we gave the quarterback 2 plays at the line. Why would we even give him 2 plays? Why wouldn't we just have the call to spike it? Like, what do we try? Why would we put the game in his hands? You know, and Tyrod's going to take the heat for it. I mean, we're situational awareness, right? This is something we don't talk enough about, where sometimes the players have to have it too. The coaches need to have it. What's the situational awareness of the moment? You know, I can't make a mistake. How do I avoid losing before I win the game? Well, you avoid losing when you call a run. Now, San Francisco got away with it in week 2 against the Rams. Brock Purdy did the quarterback sneak and got in. But this was, to me, you know, you get it down there to the 1 yard. You got to spike it and just kick the goddamn thing. I mean, it's horrible. Horrible. You know, and, you know, you turn the ball over on downs, you know, the play before, and then you get it, you know, and you get it back. And, you know, I just think, to me, it's, you know, it's inexcusable, because you go back and look at it and you say, if we just make that kick, we're going to win the game.
Yeah. The Eagles did it against the Rams too. Jalen Hurts got the sneak in there at the end of the half to score a touchdown and steal 7 points there as well. But yeah, it's like when I was watching it, because obviously this is a systemic problem. Like, I don't know why they would give a guy an option at that point. It's like, hey, we just have to throw the ball or just go ahead and kick the field goal right there. But from the body language, it looked like, I don't know if Tyrod forgot that they had no timeouts, because he looked a little casual when I looked at the play.
How could he forget, Femi? There's the helmet to communication going on.
I mean, he was walking like he was out to lunch right after the play.
Once the play's over, the sideline talks to him. Like, I get what you're saying is sometimes in the heat of, but you got somebody in your ear. This isn't like the old days when Weeb Eubanks over there on the sideline screaming a Namath. Like there's something, you're in his ear.
I'd go back and watch the tape, man. He looked like he was out to lunch, and then all of a sudden had the oh shit moment.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, look, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. Or why these are like, hey, reminder, hey, we gotta, like, we cannot go ahead and not get to the touchdown, because if we don't, the clock's gonna run out. And they didn't have enough time clearly to spike it. But still, with all that said, they had a chance to win this game, and they get the pass interference call in the end zone. Fourth on the untimed down, they unfortunately can't hit Darren Waller. Got grabbed again there, but you're not going to get back-to-back pass interference calls. Like, that's never going to happen, even though it's probably was defensive pass interference. But a one that got away for the New York Giants, who they showed that they had a little bit of life there.
I thought the 4th and 8, they're at their own 36, right? Mm-hmm. You know, at their own 36, and when Buffalo tried that field goal, right? Well, first of all, 4th and 8, the Giants are at their own 38. And why would you go for it? After the 2-minute warning, why would you go for it there?
Yeah, I wasn't really too sure about that one.
You give Buffalo the ball back at the 37, right? And, you know, now I know you're down in the game. You're probably thinking, okay, if we punt, we'll never get the ball back. So I get that. Okay, so you go for it, right? You know, you go for it. But then Buffalo at the Giant 36, they try a 53-yard field goal. It looked windy to me. Like, if we don't make this field goal, like, it's the same thing that happened the week before with the Raiders when on Monday night when Carlson misses that field goal, they give the opponent a chance to get right back into the field position. Unfortunately, Green Bay throws the interception. But, like, to me, that was – now you're playing on a half a field and a field goal beats you.
Yeah. No, I thought
like, I thought that was not – like, I don't know if I would try – 53-yard field goal in Buffalo – at 12 o'clock at night with the wind howling. I don't know if I'm trying that one.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think you try to do the coffin corner punt, little pooch punt right there, and make them drive it 90 yards to go ahead and beat you. Like the field goal, like, yes, you would go up 8 if you make the field goal, but still, you're still in a one-possession game. It doesn't help you that much. It's not like you're trying to make a 6-point game, a 9-point game. Like you're still only a one-possession game. I thought that you would punt the football right there. It's just way too risky and not enough reward for me to go ahead and try that. And it almost bit the Bills in the butt. But you mentioned, though, the defensive injuries, which I think is the key thing, because the New York Giants moved the ball pretty consistently throughout this game, despite only having 9 points there. When the Buffalo Bills play better teams, the loss of Milano, the loss of Daquan Jones, the loss of Tre'Davious White, that's going to hurt them, because they really missed those guys last night.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? The Giants were in 19 third downs in the game. 19. That's historic. 19 third downs in the game, and they converted 10 of them. They were over 50% on third down. And so this defense is based on being in third down. They're a third down defense. They want to be able to rush the passer. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, you got Justin Pugh left tackle. I mean, they kicked him out early in the game, the left tackle. And it wasn't – and I thought they were better with Tyrod than they were with Daniel. They really were. I thought Tyrod would have gotten hurt. I really did. I didn't think he could hold up. But, he didn't get hit. He didn't get hit as much as I thought he was going to get hit. So you got to give the Giants credit for bouncing back. But, I mean, look, it's inexcusable. Where the Giants were great last year was in situational football, and this year they haven't been.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, they're 0 for 6 in the red zone last night, Or was it 0 for 5? I'm sorry, they're 0 for 5 in the red zone. You can't win games when you're 0 for 5 in the red zone.
Brian Daboll, year 2, because it feels like, I don't know if it's the frustration of the losing, but he's really lighting into some of these guys here for.
He looks like he's a little, to me, it's always funny. They say, well, guys from the Belichick school, they yell at people. Bill's never out of control on the side. Brian seems to me like he's reacting as opposed to thinking.
Yeah.
Right? And he's too emotional on the sidelines. To me, he looks like he's yelling at everybody. I think, to me, it seems like, and I know Brian really well and I like Brian, but it seems to me like he's becoming desperate and his behavior is desperate, right? As opposed to being courageous and staying in there and okay, we got this, and he's going flying off the handle, and I've never known him to be this emotional. So to me, I like coaches that kind of can control their ways on the sideline. They got to think, what's Landry say when they asked him, how come you're always so quiet on the sideline and you never smile? And his answer is, because I'm thinking of the next play. Well, you got to be thinking of the next situation. And if you're yelling at your coaches or yelling at your players, you're not.
Yeah.
I think there's a I don't want to say there's an etiquette, but there's got to be a way to where you've got to control your emotions, because when you start to make decisions with emotions, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Composure. You want to see your head coach show composure on the sidelines. And I thought it was really jarring when, I think it was Melissa Stark with the sideline reporter for NBC on the game. After this halftime, she said that I asked Brian Daboll about what happened there, and he said that, I'm sorry, Melissa, I can't even think straight. I'm just I can't do this. I'm not in the right mental space. I'm like, buddy, we got a whole second half that we got to play here and figure out. You can't be in that frame of mind of I can't think straight and I'm just so angry. No, we got to move on. Yeah, it's a bad mistake, but we got 30 minutes of football left to be played. So yeah, hopefully he gets that under control. Well,
especially since he doesn't call sometimes you think he's calling the plays. I don't know if he is or not, but he's got the script in front of him, and he doesn't call the defense. So, you're managing the game. So stay calm.
Yeah.
Stay calm, and dictate what you want with the game. This is what we practice. This is what we need. I think sometimes one of the reasons the red zone is so bad, because some of the guys who are calling the games, are not really understanding the game. I think sometimes when you get down there, you got to understand the game. It's like I tweeted, we wrote this column on the Daily Coach about analytics doesn't know who's on the field. They really don't. Somebody sent me back. They know exactly how fast they are, and they know exactly who's. No, they don't. They don't know that it's J.J. Watt or Timmy Watt. They have no idea, okay? So it has nothing to do with that. You got to know what's going on in the game. What's happening with the game? How do we play? Who's hurt? Who's not on the field? Who's the backup? Who should we go after? When you get to the red zone, that's what it all matters. Miami does it. You give them credit. Look, Miami, they're one of the greatest cover teams we'll ever see.
Oh my gosh.
They can't. But see, here's what people don't understand about Miami. Miami can't change what they do offensively. They're so bad in their offensive line. If they played a normal offense without skill players like they have, they would get the quarterback killed. So he's married to that scheme. And he deserves this because he's invented it and he's hiding his line. He's done a great job of hiding his offensive line. You can't get to it. It's the weakness of the team, and he hides it. So when he gets in situations where he needs to 4-minute the game, he doesn't get into 2 tight ends or 12 personnel. He just keeps doing what he does. Yep. And it's hard to stop him. Some teams, they get into 12 personnel, and the next thing you know, they're trying to run this and run that and do this and do that. You're sitting there saying, don't tell me you're going to run the ball inside here. And, of course, they do. -1. First drive of the Baltimore game, they got 2nd and 1, right? Of course, we went up. We got a picture of Todd Monken, came back down. Then we got another picture of Todd Monken, came back down. Got another picture of Todd Monken, came back down, because he's changing the offense. and they run a zone play into a loaded front with a blitzer. Like, are we serious here?
It was a very
and we're supposed to not be in a bad play.
Well, we're going to break down some more red zone woes and go to Cincinnati because Seahawks, Bengals, boy, that was a doozy. We'll be back.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
Let's put the Seahawks Bengals off to the side for now here. We will get to that game because I'm just curious to get your thoughts on what the hell we saw happening in the red zone, especially as it pertains to Seattle. But how about the Detroit Lions? The restoration is in progress, and it might almost be complete as they start out here 5-1, their best start since 2011, beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 20-6. Jared Goff, terrific, 30 of 44, 353, 2 touchdowns. This was without both of their their running backs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs was out. David Montgomery got hurt in this game, and the Lions just kept trucking along, a complete team victory, and they went on the road once again.
Well, I mean, look, I think everybody's going to talk about Goff's game, and he's been playing better on the road if you pay attention to him, and he's one of the best cover guys in the league in terms of ATS. So, he's done a really good job. But I thought the most interesting factor about this game was the Lions couldn't run the ball, and yet they were still able to make plays. I mean, they had 22 carries for 40 yards. The Bucs made them one-dimensional. The Bucs basically did what I always say you have to do to Goff, is put the ball in his hands in outside of play action. And they were able, and he made plays. I mean, the Williams catch was insane.
Yeah.
The St. Brown run was insane. Mm-hmm. Those were 2 insane plays. And when they lost Montgomery, then Reynolds goes in the backfield. He couldn't pass protect. That became a problem. And yet they were still able to control the fourth quarter. They had the ball for 10 minutes, and Baker was Baker. I mean, 9 times the ball got touched by the Lions defense. This was a game about the Lions controlling it, playing really good football, dominating all 3 levels, and playing outside their comfort zone. Outdoors and no run game. And they still won by 2 touchdowns. To me, that shows you they're for real.
Are the Lions, would you put them on the tier with San Francisco and Philadelphia?
Well, I don't know if they're on that tier. I mean, defensively, they're physical as hell, right? Yeah. Now, look, this was a game, if you listen to any of the sharps, I mean, everybody was on the Bucs in this game. And they're going to tell you that, the Bucs was the play here. It really wasn't, because when the Bucs have to play against a good team, all right, Philadelphia, everybody was on the Bucs against Philly taking the 5.5. Remember that?
Yep.
How'd that work out? That line went, I think, 5.5 to 3.5. This line was 3.5, went to 3. Everybody was on the Bucs. Now, the Lions are a cover machine. I don't know if they're as elite. Mike Evans had some drops in the game. Baker got balls tipped, interception and right there. 9 tips in the game. 9 times the ball got touched by the defense. So, I do think that they'll, like this week against Baltimore on the road, will be a tough game for them. But Baltimore's going to be a tough game on the road for anybody.
Yeah. And
what makes it interesting is if they don't run the ball, they still found a way to win. Give them credit. Yeah, give them credit.
Yeah.
This front's good. It's hard to block. They move Hutchinson around. They can pressure. They get push into the pocket. And they're covering way better than I thought they could.
And they did this without Brian Branch, their rookie, who's been probably their best secondary member. He already has 2 interceptions on the year. He was out in this game. We'll see if he can come back for this game against the Baltimore Ravens. But every time I watch the Detroit Lions, I come away impressed. And I'll admit, I'll put my hand up. Like in the offseason, I thought that this was all just a lot of hype, and this was going to come back down to earth, and people were falling in love with the way they ended the last season, winning 7 of 8 games or whatever it was. But they have picked up right where they left off. You mentioned Dan Campbell, covering machine, best ATS coach since he's entered the league. Like, this team is for real. And I don't know if I would quite put them up there. That's why I was curious to get your thoughts with the Eagles and the Niners, but they're pretty close. Like they're clearly the number 3 team in the NFC.
They're going to be hard for the Eagles and the Niners to play. There's no question. Now, the Niners probably will spread them out better. The Eagles, they'll match up to the Eagle offensive line.
Yeah.
When you play the Niners or you play the Eagles, you got to match up to their fronts. And they can. They can block them up front with their offensive line, and they can block. Look, they scored 21 points on the Chiefs, which is a really good defense. So, and look, Baker's 2 for 12 on third down, 16%. The score's 20-16, but once again, the Lions, they were 0 for 2. I didn't even count them in the stats. They were 0 for 2 in the red zone. So I didn't count them in my 5 for 31 number, but still, I think to me they're even if they go to Baltimore and lose next week, like you got to. They in my power ranking they were 6th, and they belong in the top 5 power ranking. There's no doubt.
100%. Dan Campbell, actually, your betting favorite now for Coach of the Year. By the way, doing a terrific job out there.
And Aaron Glenn's done a great job with the defense. Yeah. You cannot. I mean, he's done a great job. For all the Ben Johnson talk, he holds Tampa to 6 points. That's a great job. My question to you, Femi, is who you betting in the South? Because I think they all suck. I mean, Tampa's the best team. They have no offense. New Orleans is a good offense. But did you watch Derek Carr yesterday? What's this bullshit about? Well, if Carr ever has a good defense, he'll go to the Super Bowl. Where are those people? Did you watch the game yesterday? Did you watch that game?
I saw 0 for 3 in the red zone. This is what I saw when the New Orleans Saints.
I mean, he was horrendous, and I love the quote he had after the game where he says, basically he said, I forget about stats. I just want the wins. Seriously?
He's a check down
artist. How about making a play to help the team win? How about making a play to help the team win? Like, this is no different than what we saw in Las Vegas, right? I mean, I took the Saints on Pat McAfee. I like that. So, I watched this game closely. He has 50 attempts for 352 yards. He makes no plays that really make the game different. And they're 0 for 3 in the red zone. Now, I know they missed 2 field goals. I get that. Mm-hmm. One was long, one was short. But still, how about, do we have to constantly throw checkdowns?
The check down to Kamara on 4th down, that was just like, you expect Kamara to beat 2 guys?
Femi. He's done it before for the Raiders. He used to do it all. And then when the play breaks down, look, everybody will tell you, when the play breaks down, that's when he's not going to make a play.
It's bad. It really is bad. And it's a game that when you look at the box score analysis and all that stuff, it's like, wow, how did New Orleans not win this game? But once again, the red zone is where the difference in that game was. Texans 2 for 4, Saints 0 for 3. I mean, the New Orleans, get this, Michael, they had 430 yards of offense to the Houston Texans 297.
I watched it. And everybody's complaining about Pete Carmichael. Everybody's saying, if Carr just has a defense, he'll go to the Super Bowl. Like all those years in Oakland and Las Vegas were just because they didn't have good defense, but he was great. Yeah, he'll put up great numbers. These are great numbers. But they didn't win the game. At some point, you got to win the game. You got to make a play to win the game. Like, when are you going to make a play to win the game? Right? That's what it comes down to. You got to make plays to win the game. You got to put the ball in the right spot, make a play to win the game, get the ball into the end zone. He ain't doing that.
I know he's reckless at times, but, man, why not try Jameis Winston? Like, honestly. Like, at least Jameis will try to make plays. Now, he's going to make some for the other team as well. So that's a problem.
Well, Carr makes them for the other team too.
Exactly.
What did he say after the game? I just want to win. The yards are great. Well, if the yards are great, what do you care about them? I could care less. Yes, you do. You do care. Like, come on, man. Like, make a play. The Saints that's a game they should have won. Now they got to play Thursday night. Whether Lawrence is going to be healthy because he left the game. And he's in the game when he shouldn't have been in the game, but he's in the game at the end of the game, and he runs a bootleg. He gets hurt. He limps off the field. Now, they say he didn't limp at the press conference, but my Lord.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's not a good situation. He has an MRI.
And let me tell you something. Gardner, I was on the Colts. That was a wrong handicap. Horrible handicap by me, because the Colts with Minshew, they play small. They look small, and Steichen goes for it on 4th down. I mean, I think he thinks he has the Eagle team going for it on 4th down. Like, he turns points down. Like, here's what I'm talking about. Do you know who's on the field? He's watching Minshew play the whole day. Mm-hmm. And on 4th down, all of a sudden, he's going to turn into fucking Hercules and make a play, take the 3 points, and then the next play, you got a field goal. Right? Mm-hmm. The next play, you get a field goal.
That game was a disaster for the Colts. I was actually surprised that a lot of people liked Indianapolis in that spot there. I get that Jacksonville was coming back from overseas in a couple weeks and all that stuff. But yeah, because I was like, man, because I feel like we talked about this on this pod last week, or it might have been on Thursday, when it says, hey, Minshew as a reliever when he comes into the game, fine. Minshew as a starter, I can't really get there. And this is kind of what it's going to be like for Indianapolis now with this guy as your starting quarterback. And it sounds like it's for the foreseeable future. All the Sunday morning reports were saying they're considering season-ending surgery for Richardson.
He's out. out. I mean, and Justin Fields, he's not going to play Justin Fields probably going to be out for. I mean, with that fracture, they say it wasn't broken, but when you're talking about a thumb injury for a quarterback, when you see the swelling of it immediately.
It looked bad.
I mean, he's going to miss a bunch of time now. Again. So you're back on the backup quarterback. Same thing with Garoppolo. We didn't talk about this game, but Garoppolo, I said to Millie during the game, I'm like, he's not coming back in the second half. I don't know what he had. He said it back, but I've never heard of somebody with a back injury going to the hospital. Have you?
No, that's.
I mean, I don't know. So there had to be something there, and everybody was complaining because they put Hoyer in, and
he played well.
that's because O'Connell needs every single rep he can get, right? He's a rookie quarterback. He needs every rep. That's why PJ Walker was playing for the Browns. They went through the Thompson Robinson's experiment. They went to a veteran guy because he could play on a shorter notice.
Yeah.
I think if Garoppolo can't go next week, I would suspect they go back to O'Connell. But I mean, look, Garoppolo can't stay healthy. I mean, it's like every time he gets hit, you feel like he's not going to get off the ground.
It really is unfortunate. Jimmy Garoppolo leaving with a back injury. I mean, he was a TD pass and interception 162 yesterday before leaving the game, and it was heck of an effort by that Raiders defense. Once again, I know the Patriots offense is dealing with a lot of stuff and not scoring a lot of points and not moving it on anybody, but Max Crosby and the crew closed the game out there with that safety. New England, I'm sure a lot of people who bet New England feel like they were done wrong, but as we talked about before we even started recording, like they probably were fortunate to even be in the game at the end of that situation.
I mean, what did the Raiders punt twice in the game?
Yeah. Right?
They punted twice in the game. They only had 9 possessions. New England controlled the ball for 10 minutes in the fourth quarter, but, at the end of the day, they got the holding call. I mean, situational football. They didn't play good enough. I mean, the Raiders still had 348 yards of offense. Hoyer makes the deep throw. The red zone, the only reason this game's close in the first half is the red zone. I mean, they got to figure out a way to get better in the red zone. I mean, the red zone was horrendous. Run, you can't get the ball in the end zone. You're 1 for 6 in the red zone. 0 for 1 on goal to go. You get what happens all the time. Every time it happens, I said a million. Watch, anytime you get a holding call in the red zone,
it's over, yeah.
The next play is going to be, you're going to make a mistake, turnover, or something happens.
Yeah. The funny thing how the NFL works, when you miss your opportunities, like Devontae Parker dropping the pass from Mac Jones, 2 plays later, safety, game over. Like, that's the NFL.
Exactly right.
That's the NFL, man. You cannot.
Holding call, and then turnover. And Crosby redeemed himself with the sack.
He did. Ended the game. The Raiders now 3-3. And oh, by the way, they'll be playing the Chicago Bears next Sunday. All right, we'll get to the rest of it on the other side.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN. Here is Femi Abebefe.
This is one that's near and dear to my heart here, Michael, not because I care about the wins and losses for the Seattle Seahawks, because I bet Seahawks +3. And watching that game against Cincinnati, 1 for 5 in the red zone, end the game with 2 turnover on downs inside the red zone, under 2.5 minutes to go. I get that Cincinnati won the game, but my goodness, Seattle should have won this game, in my opinion.
I was on the Bengals. It was 2.5. I gave it out on. It was a win. I feel like the second half, the Bengals did absolutely nothing. They have 3 punts and a field goal, 4 punts, a field goal, and an interception. I mean, they basically had 4 first downs in the second half. They kind of let it just go, but I think one of the things that happens in the red zone, right? One of the things that happens while you're 1 for 5 in the red zone is because, the corners can sit on the routes. There's no stretch of the field. And so the quarterback has to hold the ball a little bit longer. And with the backup tackles in for Seattle, that, then you're getting pressure on the quarterback. And that's where I think that's what happened. You get a call, that they had the block in the back that really wasn't necessary over on the sideline there, and that moved the ball back. So, I mean, it was one of those where I agree. I think if they play this game 10 times, I get the feeling that Seattle's going to win 7 of them.
Because I feel like the narrative now, because Cincinnati, they're going into their bye week 3-3. I feel like a lot of people think that this is crisis averted. Burrow will be back and healthier, but I feel like Burrow's healthy. He's fine right now. Cincinnati's problems, it's other stuff, don't you think? Like it's not just Burrow. Like I don't get the feeling, even watching their last couple games, even the game last week when they beat Arizona, that Cincinnati is close to the contending team we thought they were.
That offensive line's a problem. I mean, look, they gained 214 yards, Femi. They average 4 yards a play. He won't call runs. He won't diversify the portfolio. I'm talking about Zach Taylor. They had 15 first downs. They had 2 by penalty. He was 3 of 11 on third down. If he has to throw it, he can't throw it. Seattle put pressure on him. Like this, to me, Cincinnati plays Cleveland. Cleveland's defense will continue to destroy them.
Yeah.
It won't be close. It will. Now, I thought their defense played better yesterday, but they played red zone defense well. Metcalf gets hurt. I mean, think about the second half. I'm talking about the second half for the Bengals. Second half for Seattle: interception, field goal, interception, punt, downs. I mean, they had 13 first downs in the second half and come out with 3 points. Think about that.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable what happened in that game. But credit to the Bengals. They found a way to win it. That's all that matters at the end of the day is, are you going to win the game? But going forward, though, I do still have the same concerns about Cincinnati. And last point on Seattle, DK Metcalf, he's got to stop the personal foul stuff. He gets one every game, it feels like. It's like, I get Pete Carroll lets guys be themselves and all that stuff and doesn't want to take their edge away. But, like, come on, you're hurting your team now. At this point with these things. It's every week with DK Metcalf. You got to knock it off, man. Like, you're trying to win games here and getting in personal battles with DBs. Like, what are we doing? Moving over to LA, now that we got that off our chest. The Rams went ahead and beat the Cardinals 26-9 here. LA's defense, I thought, was impressive a little bit here in this game. That's been in a question mark for mine with that team here. Offensively, Cooper Kupp, he's right back where he left off from a year ago or so. He and Stafford, that combination is deadly as always. 7 for 148 and a touchdown here as the Rams now sit at 3-3.
Yeah, I felt like the longer this game, I loved the Rams laying the 7.
Yep.
I gave it out on Russo, and it kind of played out the way I thought. It was going to be a close game for a half, and then when the Rams got to the second half and started to run the football, and then they took over the game. I mean, they basically got 13 first downs in the second half. They scored 20 points in the second half and put the game away. And the longer the game goes with the Cardinals, they just can't really match it. So Dobbs, I give this kid a ton of credit. He takes a ton of hits. Without Connor, they're kind of helpless, but the defense is no good. I mean, they try to scheme things around. I mean, they did a good job in the first half scheming it up. I mean, they held the Rams to 6 points in the first half, but they couldn't make plays in the red zone. Offensively, they're 0 for 3 in the red zone, the Cardinals. They score any touchdowns there. They play as well as you could play, but they just run out of gas. They're a 50-minute team, and that fourth quarter, again, they've been outscored 54-7 in the fourth, and in this game, and now it's 64-7 in the fourth.
Yeah, they're squeezing out all the juice out of that orange there in Arizona. I credit the coaching staff. They're getting those guys to be competitive in these games, but you can tell that there's a talent deficiency, which I'm sure they'll correct over the next offseason and with the high picks that they do have to go ahead and get this team back and better. But yeah, Kyron Williams, shout out to him for the Rams, second-year running back. He ran the ball really well. The Rams were just efficient on the ground in that second half, especially there. I believe $172 for Kyron Williams. Last game that we got to hit here in Atlanta, Commanders get a 24-16 win. They get outgained 402-193.
If you took Washington and you came out the winner on the handicap, but it really wasn't. Atlanta was the right play. Atlanta has 400 yards of offense.
400.
I mean, Washington's 2 for 10 on third down. Quarterback's still getting the shit kicked out of him, right? Sacked 5 more times in the game. 5 more times he's sacked. He's going to get to 90 sacks this year. Yeah. At some point, when are we going to stop getting him hit? They average 3.9 a play, and the Falcons are at 5-1, and they win the game because they turned the ball over.
Yeah, that's the story of it. 3 turnovers to no turnovers. Sam Howell, he's outpacing David Carr in his rookie year with the Houston Texans. And Carr he's always been was 72 sacks in that inaugural season for the Houston Texans. Howell's getting killed, man, and I don't know how long he can hang on like this.
He's not gonna last much longer. I mean, I don't know how this Washington defense gives up another 400 yards. They were better on third down in this game. Washington was out there for 36 minutes. They were out there for 36 minutes.
It's crazy.
They had 25 first downs in the game. And yet they come away, they can't. They throw 2 fourth quarter interceptions. Well, the three second half interceptions, 2 in the fourth quarter.
That's your ball game.
Yeah, that's your game.
And it goes back
What do we got? They got the award. We got to get the awards in here, Femi.
Let's do the awards. Fred Palermo, best game plan of the week. Who's that going to?
I mean, we knew it before the game. I mean, we said Schwartz against the Kyle Shanahan. He's got him. He's got his number. It's true. Best defensive game plan of the week, no doubt.
Yeah, there's a stat I have here on the Cleveland Browns. This one from the NFL. So the Browns have allowed 1,002 yards this season, the third fewest by a team through its first 5 games of a season since 1970.
They are the best defense in football. They are the best defense in football.
Unbelievable.
Let's stop it. There's some really good defenses in football, but the Browns are a cut above right now.
God, they have so much damn speed on all levels of that defense. They're ridiculously good. Pretty scary what they can do if they get some good quarterback play whenever Deshaun Watson comes back. On the Lamb, who's going on the Lamb this week?
I mean, Gardner Minshew to me was horrible. He played small. He didn't make any. I mean, he looked like at some point, and look, Jonathan Taylor's not the same. I mean, I know they gave him some money. Mm-hmm. Their offensive line got the shit kicked out of them too. You know, you talk about Goff on the road. How about the Colts on the road? I know they won in Baltimore, but this team on the road and crowd noise, I don't know. You might want to fade them with Minshew at quarterback particularly.
Especially down there in Jacksonville. They have yet to win in Jacksonville. 2014 was the last time they did it when Andrew Luck was playing quarterback. Colts in Jacksonville. It's been that bad for them. The fraud of the week.
Well, all these red zone offenses, Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore should have blown out Tennessee. That game had no business being close, right? Mm-hmm. You know, Vrabel takes the 3 points, smart play, tries to get the onside kick, can't get it. Jets win in spite of the red zone failures. Giants don't. Saints, Seattle, they're 5 for 31. Raiders and the Jets win, and so did Baltimore. They overcame bad red zones, 5 for 31. Horrible.
Yeah, that's just really bad from the red zone efficiency. If you don't know, now you know.
Well, I think there's no question that the Lions play well on the road. I think we can we bury that? Can we stop that? Can we stop that narrative now?
Give Jared Goff his flowers. Guy's playing well. Everyone always
their whole team's playing well. Look, that I don't think they played great on offense. They made plays on offense. Williams makes that incredible catch. St. Brown on 3rd and 15 catches a crossing route and basically just makes guys. I mean, what a run after the catch. Incredible. Yeah, and they won this game with their defense. Their defense won the game. On
that Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown, credit Josh Reynolds, too, with the block on that run after catch. Great block to spring him free on that one. It is what it is.
It's almost impossible to go undefeated. We make such a big deal out of it. Back in 72 when they did it, they played 14 games. There wasn't Twitter. There wasn't all this media attention. To go undefeated in the NFL, I think Miami is the undefeated season in 72 is going to be like DiMaggio's hitting streak. It's going to be like Al Michaels' tie. No one's going to touch it. Like, no one's touching it, right? Like, it's impossible to beat. No team's going to go undefeated, nor do I think a team wants to go undefeated. Yeah. 17 games, the season's forever. I tell this to people all the time. When the Packers beat the Cowboys in the championship game to go to the Super Bowl, that was New Year's Eve on 67. The season was over before January, right? And then there was the Super Bowl. So these seasons are forever. Yeah. There's no way. To me, I don't think Miami is in. There's no team going undefeated. I don't care.
Well, that champagne keeps popping every single year. And to your point, I mean, these seasons, we're 6 games in for all these teams. We have 11 more games to go. There's still a lot of football left to be played. Don't panic and don't pop champagne or have confetti going either, because we know that there's twists and turns around the National Football League. That does it for the awards. We do have about 90 seconds left here. Monday Night Football, my damn team. Monday Night Football in front of company. What do you think happens Cowboys-Chargers tonight?
Everybody loves everybody's on the Chargers. They love the Chargers. The game, I think, what is it, down to 1.5 now?
1.5. So,
I mean, everybody's betting the Chargers. I like the Cowboys. I think they'll come out and play well. I think when McCarthy can run the ball as a play caller, he's a much better play caller. If he can't run the ball, he gets in trouble. They'll run the ball. Eventually, they may not run it in the first 5 or 10 plays. Eventually, they're going to be able to run the football. I think they were embarrassed last week. I'd be surprised if they didn't play well. I'd shock the line here because I think there is a reaction. Look, the Chargers are coming off a bye, much like Tampa coming off a bye. I know they have Eckler back. They don't have Mike Williams. They're going to have a hard time blocking it. I like the Cowboys tonight. I didn't play it. I didn't have a pick in the game, but I'm telling you, the sharps, the people that spend money on betting, they're all over Tampa. They're all over Chargers. They're all it's like the Tampa game. The sharps were over Tampa, the Saints, and this one. If you look at the graphs that we watch,
Yeah.
That's where the money was. Oh, by the way, that's what I wanted to say, Femi, before we get out of here.
Yeah.
The book made out. 10% of the money yesterday was on the Jets. 7% was on the Raiders. 11% was on Houston. 13% was on Jacksonville. 25% was on Cleveland. What do they have in common? They all covered and won.
How about that? NFL betting, week-to-week league. I hope you're right about the Dallas Cowboys. I don't want them to embarrass and be in front of company once again here on national TV. Thank you to our producer, Elliot Bowman. Thank you to DraftKings. Thank you to VSiN. Thank you to you, Michael. I will talk to you on Thursday with another edition of the GM Shuffle.